So, Sarah, let's start with you because you are the one who initially found this book and made the recommendations. What were your high level impressions of the book?
People at work were asking me about it as I read it, and I said, it makes me want to buy more books. Like, it makes me want to start collecting rare books, which is dangerous because that's expensive. And it also made me somewhat angry as a woman because a lot of what happened to these women who have disappeared from our talk about English novelists was because of their gender and the things that were going on culturally in their time period and how writing was viewed and writing by women. And so those were like my overall impressions when I first finished reading.
Yeah,
Now, I want to ask because your work, you're a library, well, you work at a library. So when you say at work, people were talking to you about it, you're talking about library people. Had any of them read
Yes,
it?
they have not, as far as I know. And I feel like they would tell me if they had, because we talk
Well, yeah.
about what we're reading all the time. I did replace my Jane Austen collection with a really nice fancy set and brought my old ones into work, and everybody took one. So I feel like if I can't get them to read this book, at least I can get them to read more Jane Austen. So I'm working on it.
there you go. Just sowing the seeds out there. That all sounds great. And I will just echo some of your high level points because first off, I realized an error that we had in an earlier podcast we did. We recorded a podcast about like, is the novel a format that is more geared toward women, especially in the publishing industry today? And as part of that, we assumed that up until quite recently, novel writing was dominated by men. And that's actually not accurate because even at during Jane Austen's times, we're talking late 1700s, early 1800s, the majority of novels were written by women. And so that was something that was well established. And a lot of very popular, very successful authors were women. Authors that I totally agree with you, Sarah. It was kind of shocking that some of these writers are left out of the canon. So let's talk about the canon first off, because something that Romney mentioned in her introduction, which I thought was a really insightful point, was the thought that Jane Austen kind of took the woman's spot in the canon. And because we all exist, she gets the spot and no one else can have a spot, which sounds ridiculous, but that is how I think these sort of literary lists work sometimes, right? We have like the spot for this thing, the spot for this person. We have the spot for this decade, then this decade. Oh, and there's Jane Austen. She's the woman.
Hmm.
And Anne Radcliffe, she's really good, but not as good as Jane Austen. Sorry, our woman's spot is taken. And that's something you still see now, right? Like look toward the back pages of most collections of like Western literature. You get to modern times, you get the feeling that the people who compiled it have like a checklist, right? Okay, now we need an Asian author, and we need a gay author, and we need a gay Asian author, and now we need a gay Asian woman. And it's like, okay, it's just like, it's not about, oh, this author's really good, or this author says something important. It's, oh, we need to check this box. And you get the feeling like, oh, we already have our Asian spot. Sorry. And that's the way it is with this. It's Jane Austen, she's the woman, so we need to kick all the other ones out. Anything else that stuck out to you about how we view this in terms of like the canon, Sarah?
Yes, Romney talks again and again throughout. I did a lot of skimming back through it as I was taking notes, and she talks a lot about what comparison did to these women and compared to other writers and compared to Jane Austen, and how it struck me that what you're talking about, where one person is representative of all women authors or a whole genre, that's really reductive. And when I was actually, I didn't catch this the first time, but when I was skimming through it again, there was a quote I think it was in the conclusion that really struck me, where she said, when we use comparison as a way to rank rather than to reveal, all we do is dim our curiosity. And I thought that was really like illustrates what happens when we only hold up Jane Austen and all these other authors fall by the wayside, and how much we lose by them falling out of familiarity and not piquing anyone's curiosity.
Yeah, because she would went through a lot of like, studies of the novel form, right? And they'd get like the list, and there'd be several men who were always there during this time alongside Jane Austen. They were well respected male authors, right? Like what's his name? Felding, and what was the other guy? Felding. I'll think of him. He's not important, but anyway,
Yeah, I don't.
they're all
Yeah, we're
yeah,
talking
they're
about
always
women.
listed together, and it's not like, well, we already have our dude spot. Sorry, Felding, this other guy is slightly better than you, so you're off the list. So we have all of these guys who some are better than others, but they're all on the list. So that leads me to sort of where things were at the time Jane Austen was both reading, she was preparing her novels, she was getting her novels out there. So like 1790s through like 80s, like that era, where that was a really important era for the novel and in its modern form is sort of coming into being. A lot of novels out there. And like I mentioned earlier, the majority of these novels are being published by women. But we have this sort of impression of the novels, Jane Austen. Let me get your impression, Mandy. I know, you're going to be able to pick up on context clues to know what you should say. But let's be honest, your impression is
Okay.
coming into this. If I were to tell you Jane Austen read a bunch of novels when she was a girl, what would be your knee jerk impression of what those novels must have been like?
Think that they would be similar to what she ended up writing, like that they would, and that they would. Do you mean like
Yeah,
who
yeah. Well,
wrote
what
them?
they would be like?
That they would be similar. I guess I'm just going to restate myself. Speaking of editing, you can edit that out. My assumption of what kinds of books Jane Austen would have read. Well, I would think that they would be books about the level of society that she was in, that they would probably be written by women. I'm guessing that because you said that, little did we know, but most novels were written by women. I'm not
So
really
let me
sure
see if I
what else
can
to say there.
sort of would it be fair to say you kind of would have assumed that the books Jane Austen read were kind of crappier versions of Jane Austen, right? It's like the same sort of stuff as Jane Austen, but not as good.
Yeah. Oh, you mean okay. Yes, because I guess that's sort of what I was saying. Like books that she would get ideas from, but then she would improve upon
Yes.
them is kind of what I
Yeah.
meant. So if that's what you were trying to get me to say, then there it
Thank
is.
you. Thank you. So yeah, that was
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
if you would have like tried to like pin me down to this before reading the book, I probably would have given that answer, right? It's like, okay, she read lots of books. I know these gothic things with Anne Radcliffe, some other like, courtship books, things that, might have been nice enough. But wow, Jane Austen turning that stuff into literature. Isn't Jane Austen great? And again, these are my sort of
Right. Yeah, because then
unexamined assumptions. Well, how about you, Sarah? What were your impressions of the books you would have guessed Jane Austen would have read back in the day prior to reading this book?
Well, I was familiar with a couple of names just from having read all of Jane Austen and reading a couple of biographies. There was definitely more names in here than I recognized, and I'm just looking for the table of contents. I lost my point too. Hang on a sec. I did actually try once to read The Mysteries of Udolpho, and I couldn't get into it, so I gave up on it. My opinion has changed a little bit after reading this. I'd like to go back and read that. But I don't know if I really had an opinion of the other writers that have been mentioned. I definitely didn't really have a desire to find out anything about them because Jane Austen is like the pinnacle, and it's just a thing that you hear and you repeat, and then you read the books and you like them and you repeat it yourself
Yeah,
I mean
because you
there is
don't
the
know any different.
right. There's the Austen versus Bronte debate, but it's
Yeah.
really that's kind of as far as it goes.